Yep, it's my. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to call to order the March 19, 2026 meeting of the Santa Barbara County Air Pollution Control District Board of Directors. Can we get a roll call, please?
Director Lee?
Here.
Director Capps? Director Hartman? Director Nelson? Director Silva?
Here.
Director Clark?
Thank you. Here.
Director Perotti?
Here.
Director Julian?
Here.
Director Mosby?
Here.
Director Rouse?
Here.
Director Patino? Director
It's Aguilar Hernandez.
Thank you very
Stepping in
much.
for Patino.
Thank you. Director Brown?
Here.
And Chair Lavanino.
I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, at this time, please stand and join the board Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item of business today will be closed session. Can clerk please read the item into the record?
Yes. Closed session.
By the way, David's got this microphone so messed up, nobody can use it now, so go ahead.
No.
Closed session, item C1, conference with labor negotiators, Government Code, Section 54957.6, District Designated Representative Aaron Arlen Janae, Employee Organizations, Engineering and Technicians Associations, Service Employee International Union Local 620, and unrepresented employees, management, and confidential.
Okay, we're now going to adjourn to closed session. We'll be back in a few minutes. Good enough. All right. All right, we're now going to reconvene from closed session. Ms. Richardson, can you please report out?
Good afternoon. In closed session today, the board conducted a conference with labor negotiators under Government Code Section 54957.6 with the district designated representative Aaron Arlen Janay. The involved employee organizations are the Engineering Technicians Association, Service Employee International Union, Local 620, and Unrepresented Employees Management and Confidential. The board took no reportable action.
All right, thank you very much. Next item of business will be the approval of the minutes of the January 15th, 2026 meeting.
Hartman moves approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Hartman? Aye. Director Silva?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Abstain.
Director Parodi?
Oh, aye.
Thank you. Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Rouse?
Abstain.
Director Aguilera Hernandez?
Abstain.
Director Brown?
Aye.
And Chair Lavanino.
Aye.
Motion passes 8-3.
Okay, next item up is approval of the administrative items. Does any board member wish to pull any of the items on the agenda? Anybody in Santa Maria?
No.
Okay, seeing none, is there any requests from the public to pull any items?
Chair Lavanino, members of the board, we did not receive any public requests to pull any of the admin items.
Okay, so I can get a motion and a second for the administrative agenda?
I'll move to approve.
Hartman seconds.
Moved and is seconded by whoever you want to pick there. Let's go for a roll call.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Hartman? Aye. Director Silva?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Parodi?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Rouse?
Aye.
Director Aguilera Hernandez?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
And Chair Lavanino. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, next item of business is the director's report. Ms. Arlen Janay, can you give a report to the board, please?
All right, good afternoon. First off, I'd like to start with recognizing Director Silva on his governor appointment to the California Air Resources Board. He's one of 16 board members, 12 of which have been appointed by the governor. Of those appointees, 6 represent local air district boards. He's the only CARB board member who represents medium-sized air district, a very important role to ensure issues and impacts that face our region are part of the discussion when developing statewide policies on air quality. I look forward to working with you as you serve on the State Air Quality and Climate Change Board, and congratulations. All right, I have more.
Oh, there's more.
yes.
You were just lead off.
Yeah, you are.
Big news. All
I'm going
right.
to stick with the CARB theme. CARB, last November, their board approved changes to their landfill methane gas regulation to enhance methane leak detections, including the use of new satellite remote detection of emission plumes. They are requiring quicker leak repairs and improved monitoring and reporting. This regulation was originally approved by the board in 2010, and the district implements the requirements through an MOU with the state. We have 3 active landfills that are covered by the regulation: Tejeguas, Lompoc, and Santa Maria. CARB staff is currently working on a 15-day package to provide some more clarification in the regulation, and that document is expected to be released later this month. My staff and I have been working with CARB to ensure changes of the regulation are aligned with federal requirements, that air districts are promptly notified when a satellite detects a plume in our jurisdiction, and that district workload is assessed. After the 15-day comment period, the regulation will take effect January 2027. So we'll be sure to work with all of the local landfills to ensure they're aware of the upcoming changes to the regulation. The next item is Blue Wells, Blue Skies. Since the passage of Assemblymember Hart's AB 14, the Blue Wells, Blue Sky Partnership has been working on the statewide expansion of the program. We're excited that the California Ocean Protection Council is now a new state partner with us on that. As you know, this program is a voluntary program where ships slow down to 10 knots. It reduces both air pollution and fatal ship strikes on wells. I've pulled together a group of coastal air districts that have been meeting regularly to bring all of those up to speed. And so far, we've secured official participation from Northern Sonoma and San Diego air districts who weren't involved in the program in the past. We have 3 more we're working on, and we hope to get them officially signed on soon. Along with our partners at NOAA and the California Marine Sanctuaries Foundation, we've been working to refine the statewide boundaries and the zone where we can further protect well activity and improve air quality. We've conducted surveys and met with associations that represent the vessel operators on our efforts to expand this program statewide. On Thursday, the 12th of March, an official notice was distributed to all vessel participants detailing our approach with the statewide expansion and the period of time the program will run. It will go April 22nd through December 31st. On April 22nd, which is Earth Day, we're holding an event at Scott's in Jack London Square in Oakland to celebrate the passage of AB 14. Assemblymember Hart will be there with us as well. And we'll also kick off our Blue Whales, Blue Skies program and hold an award ceremony to recognize the successful participants from 2025. And I'd like to invite any of you who are interested in joining me up at this event. It's a great, fun way to celebrate Earth Day, which I know you're all excited to do. All right, we'll be back in May with a more expanded overview to your board on this program. And then the last item, a clean air room purifier program. I'm happy to share 2 different programs that have been extremely successful recently. The first is Guadalupe. We started in 2021 with a pilot project for Guadalupe and Casmelia. We were able to give away almost 800 purifiers to help residents keep their indoor air quality clean, especially during wildfires. Last year, your board approved additional clean air room programs for the city of Guadalupe and the Old Town Goleta residents. Both communities are considered underserved by the state's CalEnviro and this is a tool we use to focus our resources on areas in the county most in need. This year's Guadalupe program started in January and was extremely successful. We previously had an in-person event in Guadalupe, but decided to take a different approach. And we worked with the vendor to have them drop ship the purifiers directly to the residents who live within that area. We had an online form, and we also required proof of residency. Our staff then confirmed that, and in batches, we worked with WinX. That's the company that we are using currently on these air purifiers, and then they were able to mail them directly to the individuals. Our bilingual outreach for Guadalupe included handing out flyers at the food bank distribution. I got to tell you, that seems to be one of the most effective ways for us to get into the community, increase our recognition, and also help with the food distribution. So that was very much a win-win. We placed flyers in the city's utility bills. Mayor Julian provided remarks to the city council meeting, and then we worked with the Dune Center on social media posts. The Housing Authority of Santa Barbara County has been an integral partner in this program, and we provided purifiers to the Escalante Meadows residents in Guadalupe, as well as other locations that they recommended. We received hundreds of requests for these purifiers, and it was a first-come, first-served basis, and 1 per residence. Due to popularity, the program has been closed. It closed actually this week. With the Hasbarco units and our dropship orders, we've distributed approximately 700 air purifiers to the Guadalupe residents. Now, I'd like to share briefly about the second program. It's the Old Town Goleta program, which I have a few slides for. Thank you. It was a very successful event on Saturday. We distributed you can go to the next slide. We distributed 400 air purifiers between 9 and 1. Actually, they came even a little early. I think it was like 8 o'clock, 8:30 and 1. And in addition to the air purifier giveaway, we partnered with C5, and we were able to have an electric vehicle test drive. The event, in addition to the test drive, we also had representatives from Driving Clean Assistance Program. It's providing incentives currently to low-income individuals on electric vehicle purchase. They were anticipating roughly 20 test drives. We hit that and even more. We got 52 test drives in that day, so it was very successful. I got to say, in talking with all the staff that were able to participate in this is one of our most successful events that we've been able to pull off to date. You didn't even look at your watch to figure out, oh, how much longer do I have to be at this table? You were moving. And the recognition that we have as far as who we are, what we do, and the importance of protecting your family during wildfires was very successful. I was mentioning to Director Hartman, the amount of touch points that we had here is much higher than the number we get at any Earth Day event that we've participated in the past. So it was a definitely win-win for us. I want to thank both Director Perotti and Director Hartman for joining in that fun. Yeah, you can click through those. I wasn't even thinking about moving on to slides. Oh, there you are. I didn't know who was clicking them. I was looking at her. So we do, after the 400, we have additional purifiers that are first come, first serve, and we're doing the drop ship option for those. But I just got to say, these two events show the need of conducting such an event countywide, and our next focus for the Clean Air Room program will be in Cuyama. And there's one more, oh, that is the last slide there, yeah. I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Director Hartman.
Well, congratulations to the staff who worked so hard on that. They started with a postcard, and then people came and redeemed their postcard for the purifier, but they had a food truck, they had a number of tables, and it really was the most successful event reaching out to hard-to-reach constituents that I've ever seen. And I think this is another issue, but we have a real question about how we're going to keep people eligible for Medi-Cal enrolled. And so there may be opportunities in the future to wrap this up together where we can reach out to people even more broadly. So just want to put that out there as a thought.
Thank you.
Anything from Santa Maria?
No, thank you.
All right.
And if I may, and music.
Oh, it was there. Okay. I thought. Yes. Okay. Outstanding. Any public comment on the director's report?
We did not receive any public comment on the director's report.
All right. So that moves us on to G, which is public comment. Now it's time for members of the public to speak on items that are not on today's agenda. Did we receive any requests to speak?
Chair Levanino, members of the board, we did receive one speaker slip from Simon Vandenberg.
Okay. Come on up. You're the next contestant. You have 3 minutes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. My name is Simon van der Burg. I'm CEO of Infinity Group. We manufacture the Infinity Carbon Scrubber system. Approximately 250 units are deployed across 7 cannabis greenhouse operations in the Carpinteria Valley. I'm here because our work in Carpinteria over the past 5 years has produced what we believe is the most comprehensive body of air quality and odor control data generated for a cannabis greenhouse environment. We would like your agency and any other decision makers to have the full benefit of it. We have reviewed the APCD and the OEHHA memos regarding PCO technology and wanted to address those concerns directly. Over 4 years of continuous field deployment have added durability data to influence an early testing unit above 90% efficiency after a full year without maintenance. We've also generated data on how our systems, multi-stage carbon and PCO systems interact to manage peak loads, extend carbon life, and contain secondary oxidation byproducts within the system before release, and have the results to prove our technology is safe for plants and, most importantly, for people. Collectively, this work has advanced knowledge regarding the behavior of terpenes, sulfurs, and other odor-causing components in the greenhouse. The long-term performance of odor control technology under sustained odor cost compound loads and the trade-off between system architectures in commercial cannabis environments. We'd welcome the opportunity to share this data with APCD or other county staff in whatever format is most useful. David Harris has connected us with OEHHA staff, and we look forward to working with them to alleviate any concerns regarding our technology. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any other requests to speak?
No additional requests to speak were received.
Thank you for being here today. Okay, is there anybody in Santa Maria? Public comment?
No, thank you.
Okay. So we don't normally comment on public comment, so thank you for the comment. Appreciate it. I know that item is being worked and of great importance to a lot of us up here. So we're going to move on to discussion item H1. Clerk, could you please read that into the record?
Certainly. Discussion item H1, Climate Heat Impact Response Program, or CHIRP. Consider recommendations as follows. 1, receive and file a presentation on the Climate Heat Impact Response Program, CHIRP. And 2, adopt a resolution to authorize the district's participation in implementing California Air Resources Board, CHIRP, which includes A, delegate authority to the district's air pollution control officer to enter into grant agreements with CARB for the CHIRP program, substantially similar to the sample grant agreement included as attachment B of the CHIRP board letter, in order to participate in fiscal year 2025-2026 and in future years for amounts not to exceed $2 million, subject to review and approval by District Council, Auditor, Controller, and Risk Management. B, delegate authority to the Air Pollution Control Officer to make or accept minor amendments to the grant agreement in future years, subject to review and approval by District Council, Auditor, Controller, and Risk Management. And C, approving the allocation of $400,000 from the district's Clean Air Fund in fiscal year 2026-2027 to provide additional funding for the CHIRP program.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, today we have Mike McKay, an
Yep.
air quality specialist, soon to be the supervisor of our planning division.
Got me worried there for a second. Thought you were.
I only got up one step, so don't.
Yeah, okay. Take it away, Mike.
All right, so good afternoon, Chair Labonino and members of the board. This is the brief presentation on the district's new grant program called CHIRP, which is the Climate Heat Impact Response Program. I'll be using the word CHIRP multiple times in this short presentation, so please bear with me. So we can all probably recall some part of the heat events in the summers of 21 and 22, with all-time record temperatures being set in many areas of California that did not necessarily discriminate based on geography. These events put significant demands on the state's energy grid. On July 30th, 2021, Governor Newsom proclaimed a state of emergency in California. The first of these two extreme heat events showed a dependence on backup generators and power plants, which were forced to operate outside of their normal permitted allowances. In November of that year, CARB board approved the CHIRP mitigation plan to be developed for response to potential future overuse of these grid-reliant backups. However, there was not a funding request to implement CHIRP during that time. Then on August 31st, 2022, during the next extreme heat event, Governor Newsom proclaimed a second state of emergency with executive orders N1422 and N1522, which remained in effect through September 9th of that year. These proclamations were made to expand the need for backup generators to operate statewide to essentially keep the lights on in California. On the outreach front for these heat events, the district posted shortcuts on our website homepage for permit holders to notify us of excessive usage. We sent out notifications to all permitted facilities via MailChimp, and we utilized social media outlets with heat event response recommendations. CARB was then directed to begin implementation of CHIRP with a state-funded mitigation plan. Funding was established under Assembly Bill 205, which came to pass on June 30th, 2022. Just before the second extreme heat event. The source of funding for this comes from the Distributed Electricity Backup Assets Account, which ensures funding for cleaner energy assets to be available to support the electrical grid during these extreme events. So for the 21 event, more than $370,000 was allocated to 2 air districts, Feather River and Placer County, and those were due to localized impacts. Then for 22, which was a significant event impacting a larger portion of California, 24 of the 35 air districts were directed to implement projects that involved the scrap and replacement of emergency diesel-fueled backup generators. So for some perspective on diesel backup generators, there are roughly 730 of them permitted in our district currently. The image on the right is from our permitted facilities map showing locations of all those permitted engines, and the link to that map there is on the bottom left. So these engines don't operate on a full-time basis, and most of them have an annual permitted limit of 50 hours for testing and maintenance. Despite the limited operation of these engines, our 2024 permitted stationary source data showed that 19% of all diesel particulate matter and 9% of all NOx emissions were attributed to the uses of those engines in our district. And those numbers do come from a roughly 50% split between testing and maintenance and actual operation during emergencies. So the engines shown here are 2 of the 9 permitted backup generators that operated during the heat events. The Golden State Water engine is located on East Clark in Orchid, and you'd likely miss the yard where it is located if you're not looking for it. The Sanitary District engine is located just east of the Carpinteria State Beach. And this engine is a Tier 0. When it was originally installed, there were no permit requirements for emergency diesel backup generators. Then when the state air toxic control measure was established in 2005, this unit was grandfathered in and operates in compliance today. In July of 2024, CARB was able to distribute the draft CHIRP allocation amounts. These allocations were based on a weighting of 35% CHIRP emissions data, 35% air quality severity, and 30% based on district population. So as you can see, the 2 tables shown here have the same allocation totals on the very bottom, just over 22 million, yet the distribution is quite different. As stated in your board letter, when the district received the original proposal, our compliance division discovered discrepancies with emissions that were reported to CARB versus actual emissions calculated by the district based off data reported from our permitted sources. After multiple conversations with CARB, it was determined that local excess emissions were considerably higher. One discrepancy, for example, is the CHIRP data was missing 4 permitted diesel generators that actually operated in our district during the states of emergency. So as such, CARB was able to adjust the allocation amounts for many districts that discovered similar discrepancies, and in the end, we were able to receive an additional $415,000 in change. So the original intent of CHIRP is to fund the replacement of old diesel backup generators with new zero or low emission engines while following the project requirements that you see on this slide here. And while the replacement of these older engines is desired, the cost of these project types would greatly impact our ability to assist in multiple sources. So for example, in your board letter, we noted about receiving a clean air grant application last year for a hydrogen fuel cell generator, which has a project cost of over $400,000. So during workshops for CHIRP, CARB took into consideration the high cost of these projects and expanded the eligibility to any project that is eligible under the Carl Moyer guidelines and the Community Air Protection Guidelines. So as a reminder too, the internal policy for our Clean Air Grant program is we fund up to 80% of the project cost up to $250,000, and anything above that would need board approval, and the same would apply for any projects that we fund under this CHIRP program. You know, there's a number of hurdles for any number of unique project types. CARB's open to new ideas on a case-by-case basis. So for example, like one project type we're considering is proposing voluntary installation of control equipment on these older backup engines. And if we come across ideas that are outside of this presentation or the original intent of CHIRP, then we'll bring it to the board. So with the board's approval, we hope to enter into a grant agreement with CARB for CHIRP, as well as allocate $400,000 from the Clean Air Fund, bringing the total funding for this program to more than $890,000. We can then start exploring project ideas that are outside the typical grant program box. And the image on the right you see there is a hydrogen fuel cell generator that I mentioned on the previous slide. This is the first project request of this type that we have received, but I don't think it's a stretch to say that ideas like this could start showing up on a more consistent basis. So we're working on developing policy and procedures for the program and plan to start outreach soon, which will coincide with the launch of our typical late summer clean air grant program. So there's our contact information, and then any questions you might have, let me know.
Director Silb.
Yeah, just a couple of them. First off, I was wondering on the diesel backup generator countywide, the 730, of that whole map there, is there any statistics, or is that something that, I guess if you just zoomed in on the map, could you see, are these usually in proximity to housing, or like, is there a rule about how close these can be to residencies? Do we have that information of which ones are
Yeah, we do have that
near?
information. I don't know if we want to speak on that right here, or do you want me to do some research and I can get back to you? But if you zoom in on those individual icons, you can click on them and it'll tell you the address where they're at, and that map, it will show where housing is related to where that actual engine is located.
Okay, I was just thinking about, like, in terms of prioritization, it would be something I would be assuming we're looking at generators replacement. If they're near housing and dwelling, those would probably be some of the more critical ones to look at this replacement program for.
Right, and then low-income and disadvantaged communities as well, so they would coincide with all of that, yeah. And that would be on a case-by-case basis, yeah. Because there are so many and the funding is, I know it's a lot of money, but it's still limited for the size of the projects.
Which led me to the next one. What is the usual cost to replace a generator? Like, what would it be per?
That big engine is, 1,400 horsepower, I think, and they have small ones that are 120 horsepower, so the range in price is extreme, low to high. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. We have never funded an emergency backup generator through our grant program, so this is kind of new to us too, so we're going to be exploring all of those options. If you'd like, I can put together a list or...
Oh, yeah, no, I think it might be premature with the questions then. So
Okay.
yes, good to know it's on your radar though.
Yeah,
So
no,
great, that'd be good to know.
Definitely is, yeah, and that's why we're thinking about ideas outside of the box to maybe put control devices on some of the equipment to be able to help more as opposed to just replacing one or two engines.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's our challenge, I think, is not knowing the cost. And the cost could be significant. As Mike mentioned, 400,000 was the one that you saw in the last image. So we want to make sure our dollars go as far as possible and benefit as many areas as we possibly can. So a particulate filter for an existing diesel backup generator might provide a lot more emission benefits than completely replacing one or two.
Director Hartman.
This is a fascinating program. There's a positive feedback loop, obviously. The climate's warming, and so we get generators, so we contribute more climate warming pollutants to the air. And so now we're trying to reduce those pollutants as best we can. I was just curious. I mean, it seems to me that CARB ought to be looking at these pilot technologies.
What are you guys doing?
Like the hydrogen. I mean, to find out more, give us more information. I just wondered about battery storage, solar and battery, how that fits, and what other cutting-edge technologies. I realize people have invested a lot in generators, and so, yeah, we maybe have to retrofit old generators, but I'd rather get ready for the new era to the extent that we can.
And this conversation's happening right now, not just at CARB, but also at the legislature with data centers. Data centers are growing throughout the state, and our need for AI and supercomputers is growing as well. So that's going to have a higher need for backup generators. Linear generators are one thing that's being used. Those are much lower in emissions than a traditional backup generator. We actually have a linear generator that we were permitted.
What is a linear generator?
It's almost like a black box generator. Dave, would you like to describe it better? Oh, you have to come up, yeah.
So yeah, great question. What is a linear generator? Essentially, if you ask a linear generator manufacturer, they will tell you it is not combustion. If you ask an air district, you'll get kind of different answers. Some people think it's combustion, some people think it's not. But essentially, it takes any kind of fuel, traditionally natural gas, and it heats it up to the point where it oxidizes, and there's two opposing pistons that will move kind of in and out against each other, and they go through magnets and produce electricity. So the emissions, as Aaron mentioned, are much lower than traditional combustion because the temperature is so much lower.
Yeah, and it's been more common in higher populated areas like the Bay Area and South Coast. I think we're fortunate to have one actually be proposed and used. Is it a hospital facility in Lompoc?
It's a care facility in Lompoc. Exactly.
Yeah, so we'll see more of that. The emissions are much reduced.
Yeah, and I guess that raises a question. You know, we deal with employers on commuting programs, but I wonder if it's valuable to, I mean, the big employers are going to need backup generation, and whatever good technologies are out there, we could be sharing that with them.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can look into as far as more education and awareness and forums specifically on various types of backup generators beyond the traditional diesel backup generator, and have that conversation. That would be in our lane for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Director
Thank you,
Brown?
Dave.
Oh. Director Brown?
Yeah, thank you. Mike, you'd mentioned in your diesel backup generators countywide, so 730 permitted. How many other generators are out there that are either natural gas or non-diesel?
Or 50 horsepower and smaller.
Yeah,
We
if it's
don't,
under
we
50
don't,
Oh, sorry.
we don't permit anything that's less than 50 horsepower.
Okay, but
There could be.
you don't have anything else? It's all diesel or it's not above that?
Like,
50
as far as what we permit is above 50 horsepower diesel generators. If it's under 50 horsepower, there could be hundreds out there that aren't even accounted for that we don't know about.
I guess I'm understanding. I'm trying to drill down to what fuel is generating this power. So if it's natural gas or if it's diesel or if you have any. So even though you permit anything over 50 horsepower, do you have any generators over 50 horsepower that are
fueled
fueled
on
other
something
than
beyond
diesel?
the diesel, yeah. If you
Good
guys
thing
want to
we-
keep asking permit questions, fantastic.
Yeah, so as Mike was mentioning, our permit requirements apply to diesel engines that are greater than 50 horsepower. We have a permit exemption for any engines that run on any fuel less than 50 horsepower. And then we also have a permit exemption for engines that are greater than 50 horsepower that are spark ignited. So things like natural gas, gasoline, any of those fuels would be permit exempt. So we wouldn't know about them. We don't have them in our inventory. They don't show up on our map. Basically, they don't have to get a permit. As long as they operate, I should mention, for less than 200 hours total.
Okay. Another alternative that came up not too long ago at another meeting was these micronuclear pods that are available, and I didn't know if that was in consideration for backup generation or not.
They are being considered for backup generators. We haven't had anything, any project come in with that proposal in Santa Barbara County.
Thank you.
Santa Maria, any questions? Comments?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. That was very thorough.
Thanks.
All right. So do we have any public comment on this matter?
Chair Levanino, members of the board, we did not receive any public comment on this item.
All right. So we have some considered recommendations. Would anybody like to make a motion?
Motion to approve items, motion to approve. Does that cover us enough?
Staff recommendation. Sure. We got 1, 2, A, B, and C. Second by Director Lee. Roll call, please.
Director Lee?
Aye.
Director Hartman? Aye. Director Silva?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Perotti?
Aye.
Director Julian?
Aye.
Director Mosby?
Aye.
Director Rouse?
Aye.
Director Aguilera Hernandez?
Aye.
Director Brown?
Aye.
And Chair Levanino.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Very good. All right, so I'm going to hand this off after we introduce this item. I mean, unfortunately, I have to leave a little bit early, so I'm going to miss this discussion. I've heard it a couple of times, but I'm going to take the, by the way, these are excellent handouts. Appreciate these. So next item is discussion item H2. Can the clerk please read that item into the record?
Certainly. Discussion item H2, status update on oil and gas operations. Receive and file a presentation on the status of oil and gas operations in Santa Barbara County.
Caitlin McNally, our Compliance Division Manager, will be providing the presentation today.
Goodbye, and members of the board. My name is Caitlin McNally. I'm the manager of our compliance division, and today I will be presenting a status update on oil and gas operations in Santa Barbara County. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, Marina was unable to attend today's meeting, so it'll just be me presenting. Next slide. So this is the list of topics that I'll be covering today. And the photo on the right side of this slide shows an oil and gas storage and processing equipment at the Carriaga lease up in northern Santa Barbara County. Next slide. The district regulates onshore and offshore oil and gas sources under the authority of the Federal Clean Air Act and the California Health and Safety Code. The types of oil and gas sources we permit are listed on this slide. The photo on the right shows an oil well in the Casmalia area. Next slide. So as Chair Lavanino mentioned, attachment B of the oil and gas board packet that was provided to you includes the status of 18 onshore oil and gas facilities that are undergoing recent or upcoming changes. And I wanted to point out a few of the notable activities. First, CalGEM has completed plugging and abandoning 174 of 210 wells that were orphaned through the HVI Cat Canyon bankruptcy process a few years ago. They're planning to plug and abandon the remaining wells in the near future, and the photo on the right side of this slide is one of the orphaned HVI Cat Canyon wells. The 4 other facilities listed here have also had all of their wells plugged and abandoned recently. Next, the Santa Maria Asphalt Refinery is another facility with a notable change. This facility has been shut in and not operational since 2021. However, it was recently purchased through the bankruptcy process in October of 2025, and the new owners are currently preparing to restart the facility. Lastly is Sable's San Ynez Unit Oil and Gas Plant, which has been conducting restart operations since April of 2025 and recently began sending oil through their pipeline last Saturday, as I'm sure you've all heard. I'll go into more detail on their status in a later slide. Next slide. In addition to onshore stationary sources, the district regulates 16 offshore oil and gas platforms in the waters adjacent to Santa Barbara County. And that's the details of the status of those facilities is listed in attachment D of the package, the board package. 6 of the 16 platforms are operational, including platforms A, B, C, Henry, and Hillhouse, which are operated by D-Corps, and they send their oil via a subsea pipeline to an oil and gas plant in Ventura County. In addition, Sable's platform Harmony recently began operating, and the 2 remaining Sable platforms, Heritage and Hondo, are in the process of restarting. Freeport McMoran's platform Irene is currently shut in and awaiting a method to get oil to the market. And there are 5 platforms that have completed plugging and abandoning and are being decommissioned that are listed here in the last bullet point under the first section of this slide. Lastly, platforms Hogan and Houchin, which are shown in the photo on this slide, are in the process of being plugged and abandoned. They have also been granted variances by the district's hearing board, which is a quasi-judicial body established to hear applications for variances and other items. The variances that were granted for platforms Hogan and Houchin are for relief from fugitive hydrocarbon component emission limits, operational limits, and leak and repair requirements until December 31st, 2027. Next slide. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, this slide has more detail on the Sable's Santa Ynez unit restart. Their stationary source is made up of 5 facilities, including the Los Flores Canyon and Popco onshore plants that are shown in the satellite image on this slide, as well as offshore platforms Harmony, Heritage, and Hondo. The district regulates the emissions from these facilities. However, we do not have direct authority over the pipelines that move oil from Los Flores Canyon to Kern County. In 2025, the district conducted 16 inspections of the 5 regulated facilities and issued 7 notices of violation. In addition, in 2025, Sable petitioned for and received approval for 9 variances from the district's hearing board. In April of 2025, Sable began restarting operations at their Los Flores Canyon facility and Platform Harmony, and the next month, they began moving oil from Platform Harmony to Los Flores Canyon. In January of 2026, Sable began restarting operations at Platform Heritage, and last, as I mentioned earlier, just last Saturday, Sable began shipping oil from the Los Flores Canyon facility to Pentland Station in Kern County via the Santa Ynez pipeline system. Next slide. The district currently has 4 engineers and 1 technician that work in our permit program. There are 183 permitted oil and gas facilities, which equates to 13% of our roughly 1,400 total permitted facilities. There are also 398 active oil and gas permits, which make up 18% of our roughly 2,200 total active permits. New and modified facilities are subject to new source review permitting with requirements including best available control technology, air quality impact analysis and health risk assessment modeling, and emissions offsets. These various requirements are triggered at different emissions thresholds, and in general, the larger the project, the more rigorous the permitting requirements. The district's interactive permitted facilities map, which is shown on the right side of this slide, and is available on our website, includes all of our oil and gas facilities, which you can see in the blue dots on the map. And I have a link and a QR code at the bottom of the slide if you want to look further into it. Next slide. The district has 5 inspectors who conduct inspections of all of our facilities throughout the county. District inspectors perform inspections of new oil and gas sources after initial operations have commenced and conduct routine inspections at each source on a regular basis thereafter. Major oil and gas sources, which are those that have the potential to emit 100 tons per year or more, are routinely inspected 2 to 4 times per year. The remaining small and medium oil and gas sources are routinely inspected once per year, once every 2 years, or once every 3 years. And the inspection frequency we choose is determined by considering the compliance history of the source, as well as district priorities, workload, and staffing levels. Oil and gas inspections are one of the most challenging types of inspections that we have. There are many safety issues to be aware of, including potential exposure to hydrogen sulfide emissions, rattlesnakes in the grassy areas around wells onshore, and extreme weather while rope swimming from a boat to an offshore platform in the ocean, among other things. It takes time to travel to some of our oil facilities, whether it's driving to an oil field in the Cuyama area or taking a helicopter or a boat to an oil platform in the ocean. Furthermore, once you arrive at the facility, it can take all day to conduct an inspection of facilities that have many wells, fugitive components, and production equipment that are spread over a large area. The photo on the right is of a district inspector conducting an inspection of a well in the Cuyama area, and they're using a toxic vapor analyzer to measure for fugitive hydrocarbon emissions, and I'll talk more about that in a later slide. Next slide. Let's see, oh yeah. All right, so the district uses FLIR infrared cameras to detect methane leaks during our inspections. We recently purchased our second FLIR camera earlier this fiscal year, so we now have one available in each of our offices for staff convenience when they need to use them for inspections. These FLIR cameras are used to screen for fugitive leaks from equipment that is unsafe or difficult to access. Any leaks that are discovered using the FLIR camera are then quantified with the toxic vapor analyzer you saw on the last slide to determine compliance with our rules and permit conditions. If you could start the video. So this video was taken with the FLIR camera and shows a methane leak emanating from a tank in the Lompoc area. As you can see in the video, the tank access is difficult with only that cage ladder to get up to the top. And in this case, the leak was found in violation of our District Rule 325, and a notice of violation was issued. Next slide. And on this slide, I have photos of the various pieces of equipment that district inspectors use. As I just mentioned, the FLIR infrared camera on the upper left is used to detect the presence of fugitive hydrocarbon emissions. It does not quantify emissions, but it's a great screening tool that can be used at a distance from the oil and gas equipment being evaluated and saves time during inspections. Toxic vapor analyzers, which I've mentioned a few times now, would detect and quantify fugitive hydrocarbons to determine compliance with district and state rules and regulations. And that's on the upper right-hand side of this slide. The TVA probe, which is, you kind of hold it in your hand, it's kind of that looped around part of the instrument, needs to be placed in close proximity to areas with potential leaks. So it can take a lot of time to conduct inspections where you're measuring a lot of different fugitive components for leaks. But we've had a lot of success with first using the FLIR camera to detect the presence of a leak and then following up with the TVA to measure the concentration. The Jerome H2S analyzer measures hydrogen sulfide in the ambient air, and it's on the lower left of the slide. And it's used to ensure public health and safety as well as determine compliance with District Rule 310 for odorous organic sulfides. And when using this equipment, inspectors take measurements at locations downwind and at or beyond the property line of sources of H2S to determine compliance. The item in the middle of this slide is a personal H2S monitor, which all district inspectors wear during oil and gas inspections to ensure their safety. It alerts the individual when there are unsafe levels of H2S in the ambient air, and when that alert happens, the district inspectors need to move out of the area and upwind to avoid H2S exposure. Finally, the H2S colorimetric tube and pump on the lower right-hand side of the slide is used by inspectors to quantify H2S in a gas stream to determine compliance with district permit limits. Next slide. In limited situations, such as public nuisance or hazardous releases, the district may also use additional equipment to evaluate the community air quality impacts. We have a specialized trailer-mounted system called the Air Pointer, which is shown in this photo, and it transmits real-time emissions data to the district and measures particulate matter, hydrogen sulfide, benzene, toluene, ethyl benzene, xylene, ozone, and meteorological conditions, including wind and temperature. SUMA canister sampling may also be utilized to determine the point-in-time concentration of specific pollutants in the ambient air, and we have contracts with 3 different labs to conduct this sampling, so we're prepared in case we need it. Luckily, in 2025, we didn't have any situations where we needed to utilize these options. Next slide. So now for enforcement, the district issues notices of violation, or NOVs, for failing to comply with permit conditions or local, state, and federal rules and regulations. And the primary purpose of an NOV is to initiate corrective action by a stationary source to reduce air pollution and comply with the applicable requirements. In addition, to provide an incentive for continuing compliance, NOVs may include monetary penalties. If an NOV is not rectified, district staff follow up with the source to ensure compliance is achieved. When a compliance is not achieved in a timely manner, the district pursues options that require a company to take specific actions. These include variances and a few less commonly used options, including compliance agreements, orders for abatement, and civil or criminal prosecution. And the photo on this slide is actually Marina, who couldn't be here today, taking a reading with the TVA at a well in the Lompoc area during one of her inspections. Next slide. The 2025 enforcement statistics are included in Attachment E of the Oil and Gas Board packet that was provided to you. And in 2025, there were 83 active oil and gas stationary sources. District inspectors conducted 126 oil and gas inspections, issued 67 violations, 23 of which were for methane leaks, and received over $148,000 in violation penalties. In addition, according to the CalGEM WellStar database and district permits, there were over 1,000 active wells and 1,100 idle wells. The photo on this slide shows tanks at an oil lease in the Cuyama area. Next slide. Over the last decade, the district has seen decreases in oil and gas production in Santa Barbara County, due in part to the 2015 pipeline rupture, the 2023 Phillips 66 refinery closure, the Santa Maria asphalt refinery shutdown, bankruptcies, and relinquished oil leases. And the district has already experienced a change in workload. As you can see on this graph, on this slide, the number of oil and gas inspections has decreased from 182 in 2019 to 126 in 2025. The district has also experienced reduced revenue from oil and gas sources, and we expect to see further changes in the future. The district and your board have taken actions to address this forecasted budget deficit. In fiscal year 23-24, we conducted a cost recovery and fee analysis study to determine the cost recovery percentage achieved by the district for our stationary source programs. The results showed that the district was recovering only 47% of its costs to implement mandated fee-based programs. In January 2024, your board unanimously adopted the cost recovery policy to ensure our agency achieves an 85% cost recovery for the regulatory program activities moving forward. This was followed with board action in your May 2024 meeting to revise the district's fee rule to secure better cost recovery from the district's stationary source program and align permit fees with individual program costs. Furthermore, the district's long-range fiscal strategy is reviewed every 5 years to ensure the district has necessary resources to accomplish its mission and mandates into the foreseeable future. Any future changes to oil and gas revenue will be captured and addressed through that review. I do want to take a moment to point out two things that might stand out to you in the graph on this slide. First is the drastic decrease in notices of violation between 2020 and 2021. This huge decrease occurred because in 2020, HVI Cat Canyon was responsible for the majority of the violations issued, 113 out of the 144 NOVs that were issued. And then on December 17, 2020, HVI Cat Canyon filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy protection and stopped operating their many oil and gas facilities. The subsequent operators, including the bankruptcy trustee and a few different companies that purchased the lease since that time, did a better job operating the facilities and did not violate our requirements anywhere near as much as HVI Cat Canyon did. Second is the decrease in inspections and NOVs in the 2024 calendar year. These decreases were due to the departure of an experienced lead oil and gas district staff member and the time it took to hire, onboard, and train the new oil and gas inspector. After getting the new oil and gas inspector up to speed, you can see that in 2025, both the inspection and NOV numbers went back up to levels similar to 2023. Therefore, we believe that if we didn't have those staffing changes, the inspection and NOV numbers for 2024 would have been similar to 2023 and 2025 and would have essentially plateaued. Next slide, please. So, as identified in the following chart, oil and gas operations currently make up 7% of the district's regulated stationary sources. Between 2023 and 2025, which is the most recent time frame that covers our 3-year permit reevaluation cycle, 27% of the permits issued were for oil and gas sources. In 2025, oil and gas operations accounted for 22% of all of the compliance inspections conducted, 24% of the NOVs issued, and 13% of the NOV penalties received. Lastly, in fiscal year 24-25, the operating revenue from oil and gas sources was 26% of the district's overall operating revenue. Next slide. So to give you a better picture of the makeup of the district's operating revenue, as shown in the graph in the last slide, the fiscal year 24-25 oil and gas revenue made up 26% of the district's operating revenue, as I said, and revenue from other permitted sources made up 32%, and the remaining 42% was from other revenue outside of our permitted sources, and that's all shown on the left pie graph. The chart on the right shows the percentages that other facilities contributed to our stationary source revenue in that fiscal year. Aerospace facilities made up the majority, which were closely followed by emergency standby diesel generators, boilers and engines, mineral processing facilities, and landfills and wastewater treatment plants. The remaining facility types each made up less than 10%. I do want to point out that this is a snapshot in time, and these revenue amounts and percentages do fluctuate year to year depending on the projects that the district is working on. But to be consistent with the rest of the statistics included in this report, we thought it'd be helpful to show the data from the most recent fiscal year. Next slide. We're almost at the end. All right, so the district coordinates with multiple agencies while regulating oil and gas operations, including the agencies listed on this slide. We also participate in the Santa Barbara County System Safety and Reliability Review Committee, or SSRRC. We love our acronyms. The SSRRC was established by the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors in 1986 to identify and require correction of possible design and operational hazards for oil and gas projects. SSRC member agencies include Santa Barbara County P&D, the Santa Barbara County Fire Department, and the district. The SSRC meets on a monthly basis and conducts safety, inspection, maintenance, and quality assurance program audits at oil and gas facilities several times per year. Next slide. The district has had rules in place to limit ozone precursor emissions, including reactive organic compounds, from oil and gas operations since 1979. District Rule 331 for fugitive emissions inspection and maintenance also reduces methane emissions due to its requirements for fugitive leaks at oil and gas facilities. The district also implements CARB's oil and gas methane regulation, which was adopted in 2017 and amended in 2023 to reduce methane emissions from oil and gas production, processing, storage, and transmission stations. On a statewide level, CalGEM and CARB are jointly leading the methane task force, and their goal of the task force is to identify and respond to methane leaks from oil infrastructure near communities, as well as address the impact methane has on climate change. Lastly, as part of the California Satellite Methane Project, CARB is utilizing satellite-based methane plume imagers to quickly detect and identify high-emitting methane sources throughout the state. CARB uses this data to work with regional and local agencies and industries so they can repair methane leaks more quickly. So far, we have not been notified of any plumes detected in Santa Barbara County, but the image on the right in this slide shows a gas leak that was found in Kern County using the satellite imagery, and that occurred in July of 2025 and was repaired by the operator within 24 hours. Next slide. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Caitlin. Any questions from the board? Mr. Silva? Oh, no. I'm sorry.
How do you regulate onshore differently, if you do, than offshore?
I would say that we do not regulate them differently. We implement the same rules and regulations for both onshore and offshore, and we use the same equipment to conduct our inspections. Did you want to add anything?
Thank you.
I think one difference, though, would be the vessels that service the platforms, the mobile source aspect, which we were able to work with EPA to secure our regulatory authority on the mobile sources that are necessary for the care and feeding of a platform. That also falls under our permit. And we don't have mobile source requirements for onshore facilities.
Anyone else?
Yeah. It was actually building off of Director Hartman's question. I was curious, could you maybe maybe in a simpler way, could you walk through, especially I think Sable Pipeline is going to be, most constituents have that as a question for us. Could you walk
Yeah.
through kind of jurisdictionally where it starts, because I remember you mentioning that like once it gets to a pipeline, it's no longer, or could you just walk through that, the life cycle of your jurisdiction as it changes from phase to phase? Is that something you could?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I don't know if Dave wants to add anything, but so we regulate the stationary source. So for example, for Las Flores Canyon, we regulate all of the pieces of equipment that have potential to emit air pollution at that facility, including the tanks, the combustion equipment, the fugitive components. However, once it leaves that facility in the pipeline, we no longer have jurisdiction over those emissions or the pipeline and any leaks that may occur from that. The one caveat to that is that if the pipeline has a pump station where they might have emergency generators or something like that, and maybe a few fugitive components, we do have jurisdiction because that is considered another stationary source for our purposes, but the actual underground pipeline in between does not fall within our regulatory jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to add, Aaron or Dave? Okay.
Thank you. Anyone in Santa Maria? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Quiet group. I had a quick question on this. In our budget, we've talked about penalties and violations and so forth. Do we have anything that acknowledges the great actors that are in this, that we've never violated or never had a violation or we've never had an issue with having those rewards? A lot of companies are now becoming more and more competitive to comply if there's a carrot on the stick rather than just a stick.
Right.
Yeah, in our budget, we don't have any financial incentives to permitted sources that.
It doesn't have to be financial. It can be a acknowledgement, a plaque, something
Yeah, we've
really
talked about
simple
this,
like that.
actually.
So we don't currently have anything, but we have talked about it, just haven't gotten to the point of implementing. But that is something we are interested in recognizing, the good actors that are not violating.
Those
And-
bragging rights go a long ways
Yeah.
with their peers and across industry.
Right.
So-
And it also has positive effects for our staff who, may be seen as the bad guys, always, issuing something negative with the violation. So it could also benefit our agency in addition to the industry.
It's the Pareto rule. 80% of your problems come from 20%
Yes,
of people.
yes.
So reward those, other 20. So that's all I had for you.
Chair, I just think that's a great idea. I think the Blue Whales program is an example. It wasn't the money, it was the recognition, really, and to do something like that more
Yeah.
locally.
We started with incentives for the Blue Whales, Blue Skies, and then we came to realize that the operators didn't want the amount of funding that we could provide for them as incentives. They wanted the bragging rights, they wanted the photos, they wanted the recognition. So thank you for your question. We'll definitely put that request up high in our action list. I know in talking with Caitlin, being an inspector is a hard job. And when people go from the compliance world to other worlds like planning, for example, working for the agency, it's amazing the change in interactions they have when they go out and are at the site. I'll have one example for you. Sage, one of our inspectors, he was an inspector for many years. He would go out to oil and gas facilities, and now he's on our planning team as a monitoring staff. And we have a monitoring station at Las Flores Canyon. And when you go there as a monitoring staff, they welcome you on in. They come over here, you go on in. You go there as an inspector, and they're like, wait, we got to really check everything. Are you sure you can be here? So it's hard to be an inspector. And so the more we can do as an agency to provide positive opportunities for those individuals to recognize the star performers in our area, it will benefit not only those star performers, but it'll have a benefit internally with our staff as well. So thank you.
Anything else up in Santa Maria?
One quick statement.
Go ahead.
So as PG&E is doing more and more with drones and monitoring their power lines and stuff, you guys might look into that as well. You could probably access a lot of these remote sites with FLIR and other devices that can help you with the drones. Maybe you could get more bang for the buck from per employee.
Good idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Public comment.
Chair Brown, we did not receive any public comment on this item.
Okay, is there any internally or Zoom or otherwise?
We do have 2 attendees on Zoom. If you would like to provide public comment, please click the raise hand button at the bottom of your screen. We received no public
well.
comment.
Okay, announcements. Thank you very much, Caitlin,
You're welcome.
by the way. This meeting will be rebroadcast on Sunday, March 22nd at 2026 at 5 p.m. on the County of Santa Barbara Channel 20. Riveting, let me tell you. Okay. Should be good. You'll line up popcorn and soda for everybody. That's all. Any shout outs or anything else for any of the directors before we adjourn? Any closing comments? Thank you very much. We are adjourned for this meeting. Our next meeting will be when? You have that on calendar?
Yeah, our next meeting,
For the members on the hearing board nominating committee, if you can stick around for a few extra minutes.
Oh,
Thank
but
you.
our next board meeting?
Oh, that would be May 21st.
May 21. We'll see you again then. Thank you.